The wrestling world has been shattered by news that nobody saw coming, and I'm telling you right now, what I'm about to reveal will leave you absolutely speechless. This isn't clickbait, this isn't speculation, and this sure as hell isn't some storyline for entertainment. This is real life, and it's about to break your heart in ways you never expected. WWE Superstar Bianca Belair has just suffered the most devastating loss any human being can endure. Her husband, her partner, her best friend, and the father of her future children, Montez Ford of the Street Profits, is gone. And the circumstances surrounding his passing are so tragic, so unexpected, and so utterly heartbreaking that even the toughest wrestling fans are breaking down in tears. But here's what's making this story even more infuriating: the way WWE and certain so-called fans are handling this tragedy is absolutely disgusting, and somebody needs to call them out for it. Because while Bianca Belair is dealing with the worst moment of her entire life, there are people out there who are more concerned about storylines, championship reigns, and their own entertainment than showing basic human decency. You want to know what happened? You want to know why one of WWE's brightest stars is now facing a future she never imagined? Then buckle up, because this story is going to take you through every emotion possible, and by the end of it, you're going to be as angry as I am about how this whole situation has been handled. Montez Ford wasn't just another WWE superstar. He wasn't just half of one of the most entertaining tag teams in recent memory. He was a 33-year-old man who had his entire life ahead of him. A former Marine who served his country with honor before dedicating himself to sports entertainment. A man who lit up every room he entered with his infectious energy and genuine love for life. But 3 weeks ago, on what should have been just another routine day, Montez Ford collapsed during a training session at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. Not during a match. Not during some high-risk stunt. During a routine training session that he had done thousands of times before. The initial reports were confusing and contradictory. WWE's official statement was vague and filled with corporate speak that told us absolutely nothing. Medical emergency during training, they said. Receiving the best possible care, they claimed. But what they didn't tell us was that Montez had suffered a massive cardiac event that doctors later determined was caused by an undiagnosed heart condition that had been silently threatening his life for years. For 2.5 weeks, Bianca Belair barely left his hospital room. She cancelled appearances, missed television tapings, and put her entire career on hold to be by his side. The wrestling world watched and waited, hoping and praying for good news that never came. And through it all, WWE kept promising that everything would be fine, that Montez was a fighter, that he would pull through. They were wrong. Dead wrong. On Tuesday morning at 6:47 a.m., with Bianca holding his hand and whispering words of love in his ear, Montez Ford's heart stopped beating for the final time. The man who had brought so much joy and energy to millions of wrestling fans around the world was gone, leaving behind a widow who is now facing the most difficult chapter of her life. But here's where this story gets absolutely infuriating, and this is why every single wrestling fan needs to hear what I'm about to tell you. Within hours of Montez's passing becoming public knowledge, the wrestling internet was flooded with the most disgusting, heartless, and downright evil comments you can imagine. Does this mean Bianca's going to drop the title? Will they turn this into a storyline? I wonder who she'll marry next. At least now she can focus on her career without distractions. Are you kidding me? This woman just lost her husband, her soulmate, the love of her life, and these basement-dwelling keyboard warriors are worried about championship storylines and whether this tragedy will somehow benefit their viewing experience. But it gets worse. Much worse. Within 24 hours of Montez's death, there were already YouTube videos with titles like, How Montez Ford's Death Will Change WWE Forever, and Bianca Belair's New Single Status, What It Means for Her Career. Content creators were literally trying to profit off a woman's grief, turning her most painful moment into clickbait content for views and ad revenue. And don't even get me started on the social media fans, who started speculating about potential romantic storylines for Bianca, suggesting which male wrestlers she might be paired with now that she's available. The complete lack of humanity, the total absence of basic decency, the sheer coldness of people who call themselves wrestling fans while treating real human tragedy like entertainment content, it's absolutely sickening. This isn't a storyline, people. This isn't entertainment. This is a 34-year-old woman who woke up this morning in an empty bed, in an empty house, facing an empty future without the man she thought she would grow old with. This is someone who has to figure out how to breathe, how to function, how to exist in a world that suddenly doesn't make sense anymore. Bianca Belair and Montez Ford weren't just married, they were genuinely, deeply, passionately in love. Anyone who followed their social media, anyone who watched their interviews together, anyone who saw the way they looked at each other could tell that they had found something special. They supported each other's careers, celebrated each other's victories, and faced challenges as a united team. Montez was Bianca's biggest fan and harshest critic all rolled into one. He pushed her to be better in the ring, supported her during difficult storylines, and was always there with a smile and encouragement when she needed it most. When Bianca won her first championship, the first person she looked for in the crowd was Montez. When she headlined WrestleMania, he was right there cheering her on. They had plans, dreams, a future mapped out together. They talked about starting a family, about life after wrestling, about all the adventures they wanted to share. Now all of those dreams are gone, replaced by funeral arrangements, legal paperwork, and the impossible task of learning how to live without the person who made life worth living. And while Bianca is dealing with all of this unimaginable pain, she's also being forced to navigate the public nature of her grief. Every emotion, every tear, every moment of weakness is being scrutinized by fans and media alike. She can't even mourn in private because her personal tragedy has become public entertainment for millions of people around the world. The pressure she's under right now is something that most of us can't even comprehend. On top of dealing with the death of her husband, she's being asked to make decisions about her career, her future, her public appearances. WWE executives are probably already scheduling meetings to discuss what's next for her character, as if she's in any emotional state to think about wrestling storylines and championship reigns. But here's what really makes me angry about this whole situation: the way WWE as a company has handled Montez's death reveals everything wrong with the modern wrestling industry. Instead of giving Bianca all the time and support she needs, instead of prioritizing her well-being over their programming schedule, they're already making plans for how to write around her absence and potentially incorporate her loss into future storylines. Sources within WWE have told me that there have already been discussions about potential tribute shows, memorial segments, and ways to honor Montez's memory that would benefit their television ratings. They're literally trying to figure out how to turn a man's death into content, how to exploit a widow's grief for entertainment value. This is the same company that has a history of turning real-life tragedies into wrestling storylines. They've done it before with other wrestlers who have passed away, and they'll do it again with Montez if we let them. But this time feels different. This time feels more personal, more cruel, more exploitative than anything they've done before. Bianca Belair deserves better than this. She deserves time to grieve, space to heal, and the freedom to decide for herself when and if she wants to return to wrestling. She doesn't owe us entertainment. She doesn't owe WWE programming content. She doesn't owe anyone anything except herself the time and care needed to process this incredible loss. The woman who once called herself the EST of WWE, the strongest, the fastest, the roughest, the toughest, is now facing the greatest challenge of her life, and it has nothing to do with what happens inside a wrestling ring. She's facing the challenge of rebuilding her identity as an individual rather than as half of a couple. She's facing the challenge of finding meaning and purpose in a world that suddenly feels meaningless. And she's doing all of this while millions of people watch, judge, speculate, and comment on every aspect of her journey through grief. Can you imagine trying to heal from the loss of your spouse while strangers on the internet debate whether your sadness looks genuine enough? Can you imagine trying to move forward with your life while content creators make videos analyzing your every public appearance for signs of recovery or breakdown? This is what Bianca Belair is dealing with right now, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. But here's what makes me even more angry, the wrestling fans who are treating this like it's just another wrestling story. The people who are more concerned about how this affects WWE's programming than how it affects a real human being who is suffering. The so-called fans who see tragedy and immediately start thinking about entertainment value rather than showing basic human compassion. These people don't deserve to call themselves wrestling fans. Real wrestling fans understand that the people in the ring are real human beings with real lives, real emotions, and real problems that extend far beyond what we see on television. Real wrestling fans know the difference between storyline drama and actual human suffering. Montez Ford gave everything he had to wrestling fans around the world. He entertained us, made us laugh, made us cheer, and brought joy to millions of people through his performances. The very least we can do in return is show respect for his memory and compassion for the woman he left behind. Instead of speculating about storylines, instead of wondering about championship implications, instead of treating this tragedy like entertainment content, we should be supporting Bianca Belair in the only ways that matter. We should be giving her space to grieve, time to heal, and the understanding that she may never be the same person she was before this loss. Because that's the reality of grief, it changes you forever. The Bianca Belair who eventually returns to WWE programming, if she chooses to return at all, will be a different person than the one who left. She'll carry the weight of this loss with her for the rest of her life, and every match, every appearance, every moment in the spotlight will be colored by the absence of the person who mattered most to her. Some of you watching this are probably thinking that I'm being too emotional, too dramatic, too invested in the personal lives of wrestlers. But here's the thing, these aren't just characters on a television show. These are real people with real lives, and when tragedy strikes, it deserves to be treated with the same respect and compassion we would show to anyone else in our lives. Montez Ford's death is a reminder that life is fragile, unpredictable, and precious. It's a reminder that the people we love can be taken from us without warning, without explanation, without the chance to say goodbye properly. It's a reminder that fame and success and career achievements mean nothing when you're facing the loss of someone who truly matters. For Bianca Belair, the woman who seemed invincible in the ring, who overcame every challenge and defeated every opponent, this is the one battle she can't win. She can't superplex grief. She can't submission hold heartbreak. She can't pin death for the 3 count. All she can do is take it one day at a time, surround herself with people who truly care about her well-being, and try to find a way to honor Montez's memory while building a new life for herself. And all we can do as wrestling fans is support her journey, respect her process, and remember that sometimes the most important thing we can do is simply shut up and let someone grieve in peace. Montez Ford was more than just a wrestler. He was a husband, a friend, a mentor to younger performers, and a bright light in an industry that can sometimes be very dark. His death is a loss for everyone who knew him, worked with him, or was entertained by him. But most of all, it's a devastating loss for Bianca Belair, who now has to figure out how to move forward without the person who made her world complete. So before you comment on this video, before you share your thoughts on social media, before you speculate about what this means for WWE's future, take a moment to remember that we're talking about real human suffering. We're talking about a woman who is facing the worst moment of her life while the entire world watches. Show some compassion. Show some respect. Show some basic human decency. Because that's what Montez Ford would have wanted. That's what Bianca Belair deserves. And that's what real wrestling fans should demand from everyone in our community. The wrestling world has lost a bright star, and a woman has lost the love of her life. Nothing about that is entertainment. Everything about it is heartbreaking. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.